Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Burner. So yeah, this is the show that we talk about all things fire department. Sometimes in, hardly never the police department. But I hear soon we'll have an episode about that just specifically for them. So that way we can. I'm your host Hunter Holt, and after these two introduce themselves again, we'll get started.
I'm Gabriel Rathbone. Y'all see me quite a few times. Back again.
My name's Ian Potter. I don't know. I've been on a couple times now.
Mm.
Good to go.
Yeah, you should know our faces by now and stuff. And before we get started, a couple shout outs to some local companies. One of them, they've helped me out a lot. That is ELS Solutions. If you want to be the baddest POV that is out there with all the blinky lights and all the siren boxes, and so people can hear you and see you for miles to come, hit my boy up over at ELS Solutions. Also, the Red Line Training Company. If you want to learn how to really thump a chest or whatever, they have a Facebook page. They have a lot of good information. You know, you could be just a simple citizen in the community, or you can be a firefighter as well too. He's got some really good training programs that are out there. Hit him up on Facebook, and then if you want to feel the tingles and those little bit of hot flutters that makes you want to feel like you're going to go to the hospital, hit up my girl Courtney over at Roundup. She has served the best coffee
She's
out
gonna
there.
love.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're gonna get into the thick of it now. We are gonna talk about, and one of my sister actually helped me come up with that with sister Brandy, and we are gonna talk about the dangers of being stagnant in your career. And I think that's going to be a pretty good topic just because it goes for all lines of, works and stuff. So I'll let Gabe start us off on that.
Take it off, bud.
Oh, where to start? And I don't know. That's kind of that's a hard topic. Like, they tell us in school, the day you stop learning is the day that you retire. And I mean, it also the fact that everybody tells you that the two things that firemen hate most is change and the way things are.
Yeah, that's
And, you see a lot of the old people that have been doing this for a while, they don't want to develop new tactics or implement them onto their shift, or, chiefs don't want to implement them into their station.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, fires change. Fires today aren't how they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they burn harder, faster. Like I said, and it gives you a whole lot less time to really, get out there and do what you need to
Yeah.
do. Where there too, if you are working in, especially in the place that we work at and stuff, it's really hard to get people to adapt new tactics because they're like, hey, this we've done it for this many years and it's been productive for us for this many years.
It's like the Minutemen. I mean, we took the Minutemen in our department, and it took some training with it. I think the biggest issue of being stagnant to where it can, hurt your department is when I don't know, the structure of a fire evolves, because with all the stuff they put into couches and, insulation and everything, all
Mm-hmm.
that's always changing. If you are not able to develop new tactics to go at that, somebody's going to end up getting hurt. I mean, if you're stuck to the old ways of firefighting, tried and true, they worked back then. They might work today, but the issue is, you might have a fire in 20 minutes that doesn't work on, and then you're like, "Well, what do I do?"
Yeah, exactly. I think being stagnant could go in a multitude of different ways. You could be stagnant in fitness. That's a big thing right now. You got a lot of people that don't really want to put in the work to get their health right, and that goes in a lot of different ways too. It could be your mental health, it could be your physical health, it could be the health of your family as well too. That could come to play. But like I said, I think one of the biggest things is if you become stagnant in that, you're not really helping anybody else
yeah.
on the fire ground.
You're not
Well,
helping your fellow firefighters.
no, you're not helping your department at all.
Yeah, in the community. I'll tell you, I've been in this long enough to see the change in a couple things, and I've listened to the old guys talk about, I mean, my mom and dad came up riding the tailboard, and they told me, "Oh yeah, we rode the tailboard." I mean, they didn't ride it long, but they rode it long enough. And one of the things that is a big change right now, and they're starting to push it, is when I came in, they were teaching you, do not open that bail on that nozzle. Don't touch it. You don't touch it till you get to the fire, and that was a big thing. Is you don't want to.
Oh, making the
You
push before
well,
you
yeah. Well,
yeah.
you just make the push into the seed. If you got to knock down a little bit, but don't steam burn people. And that was a big thing when I started coming into fire service.
Mhm.
And now, I mean, you're seeing all these academies and all these all these instructors like, no, open that thing up. I mean,
Yeah,
we
not
got
the floor.
couches. Yeah, we got couches off gassing at 750,000 degrees in a room. It's fixing to combust on you, and that's kind of one of those things that people are looking at and go, hey, we've got an issue with we need to cool the room down and potentially save the victim. So there's something to be said about bringing back some old tactics, bringing back, and then finding new tactics.
I think we need to bring back one of the things that I think the fire service needs to bring back is being aggressive, because you have a lot of firefighters that like to, well, especially like where I volunteer at, if they say like, if they see that the roof's collapsed in just by
Yeah.
like just a little bit, well, that building's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's done or whatever. We're not going to go in. I think we need to become more aggressive, but not really reckless at the same time. Because like the men and women that served before us, they were really aggressive,
Mm.
right? And a lot of the tactics that they used are some of the stuff that being pushed now. So a lot of your fires back in way back in the day, they did the transitional attack.
Mm.
Right. That's now the transitional attack's been something that's been talked about and trying to be taught over the last few years and stuff, but they were using that before, like they were using that way before we were, because they didn't have the technology we have, like the SCBAs. They were going in no respiratory protection whatsoever.
Yeah. The one of the things that there was a chief up at the big international fire conference a couple years ago, and I always loved the video, and it comes up all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
he says roll your helmet over, and he's doing this whole spiel, roll your helmet over, and in your description of your helmet, firefighting is inherently dangerous, and he's absolutely right. He's preaching in the choir. These departments are getting so safe on things, and don't get me wrong, every one of us deserves to go home. It doesn't matter what, when, why, or how. It goes back to that, risk a little to save a little, risk a lot to save a lot. If you've got potential victims in a house, you show up and somebody says, well, there was nobody in the house. And it's like, are you sure? That was,
And we're going
I
to
thought,
search it. We're going to do
yeah,
everything to do
we're
that.
gonna
We can
search.
search it.
We're gonna
We've
take a
had
look.
that a few times that, the neighbor comes in and they're like, "Oh, their cars aren't home.
Yeah, they're
They're
not
not
home.
home." But, you start searching and like there's somebody that's went back inside the back door or
Or
Mhm.
pets.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
then,
I can tell you for a fact, me and him had worked a fatality house fire together, and on initial tone out, they said that there was potential victims.
yeah.
And when you got on scene, yes, there was heavy, heavy, heavy fire. There was a heavy amount of smoke coming out. It was hot. And when you first arrived on scene, there were people out in the front yard. When I was doing my 360, there was a woman that was, I think, a smoke inhalation and stuff like that. But we were on scene, and not a single person told us that there was still somebody inside there until what, 25 minutes of
Yeah.
firefighting.
which at that point, even at the time that we arrived on scene, it was
You got 7 to 12 minutes on dispatch
yeah,
alone, let alone how long that fire's been burning.
Well,
and then
from initial tone out, when we got the tone, to when we arrived on scene and put water on the fire was 7 minutes
yeah,
Yeah.
when we arrived on
but
scene.
even at that point, there was no going inside.
No.
There was the most of the like back half on
I know what
like
you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
So most of the back half of that was already collapsed.
Yeah.
The front was starting to, and that it's single wide trailer. That's one of those that you're looking at.
Yeah. And
Definitely
for those of you that don't know the term when I use 360, when you're doing a 360 of a structure, is one, you're looking at how much is involved, but number two, you're looking for viable places for somebody to be living, whether it be a window, it could be, a back door,
It's exits,
entries, it could be absolutely anything, but
gas
that,
meters.
yeah, and you're also looking for any other hazards like power lines and stuff, but like, that's just for those of you that don't really know that term as well too. Another thing that I was going to talk about when it comes to just becoming stagnant, and we'll talk about it more of like a personal growth type deal, is not really losing the sight of like why you got into the business, and that could go for any career, whether you are working in nursing, a factory, construction, whatever you're passionate about. Just remember why you chose to do the career that you chose. Remember the good times. Like that's what I do. Like even on the hard days that we have, there's some hard days that we all have and stuff. I remember like why I got started, and kind of like try to remember the passion that you had before, really getting those years in and stuff. But
Yeah, don't lose sight of what you joined for or why you started on that career path. And I hear it a lot with nurses. They get burned out. They just inherently comes to mind. They get burned out fast because they're overworked, they're
yep,
underpaid. The list is long, and they're understaffed, and they've got issues. Healthcare, unfortunately, as a whole, has really got a tax on it in the United States.
oh,
And I don't see, we're not going to fix the world's problems from this table, but
no,
definitely, be aware of it.
I
You know,
think this is going for more like I don't know if you guys have ever worked a factory job before, but I think this is also going from the fire department as well. People need to have time off when you're working that factory job. I've done it, and you're working 6 to 7 days a week with no break, and you're working these 12-hour shifts. You're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again for not a whole lot of pay, or you could be making a lot of money, but you don't see where your money's going. You don't see your family that much. You're making a bunch of money, but you're working all these hours. You don't know,
telling me,
yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
yeah,
So, and I think people deserve to have their time off. There ain't no way that, your company is like so far behind that you can't give the people that you said, and when you originally, get on that job, they tell you like, oh, hey, you work this many hours. Complete bull crap.
Yeah.
Complete bull crap. You literally work more you work more than what they originally told you on that piece of paper. So I think that's another big problem when it becomes just being, and that can, cause a lot of different problems like becoming numb to the job, becoming grumpy,
putting a tax on your family.
yeah, putting a tax on your family. And then then that also causes a divide between, like, if you're married, between you and your wife. And that could still go for the fire department. If you work, the emergency services, we don't make that much.
No,
So
You definitely don't do this job for the money.
no, you don't. You do it for, the passion of things. You do it for the brotherhood and stuff.
That goes back to, remember why you started. And I'll
yeah.
tell you this too, with my story, firefighting was not on my career list
Hmm.
at all.
We'll go on a sidetrack because I kind of want to know how you got into this. Then,
My first choice was going to be the Air Force. And at the time that I was going to go enlist, the Air Force was very strict on their medical standards. And I have two things. Number one, I've got like small tumors on my optic nerves. And then
okay,
the other thing is they don't want you to have anything on your medical history within like 5 years or so. All right. So when I went to enlist, it was within that 5 years, and they didn't want me in. So they tried to put me, and I forget what program it was, that I could stay in there for like 2 or 3 years and then enlist active duty. But
this is the depth
maybe delayed
delayed entry
entry. Yeah.
program. Yeah,
Mm.
So, I didn't want to stay in that the whole time. But the day that I applied for the fire department, my brother worked for the fire department for our city. And I was driving through town, and he called me and he's like, hey, why don't you put an application in at the fire department? Well, I was passing by when he said that. And I just pulled in, and the chief was there. And I'll tell you this was on a February 8th, or no, February 5th is when
right.
I stopped in and applied. And on
Who's
the
still
8th,
Brian?
he called me in and he's like, "All right, can you start today?" And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything else, so
Throw him on the
yeah, I just
engine.
start today." So he's like, "All right, well, you'll start, or we'll go down to the office and whatever and do all the paperwork." And he's like, "Over the next 3 days, you can come in, meet the other shifts." So that's what I did. Came in that day, met the shift that was on, which ended up being the shift I was put on. And then I went to B shift and C shift and met those guys. And then the 13th of February is when I started rookie school. So within, what is that, 8 days?
Yeah.
From the day that I applied, 8 days later, I was in
You got a
rookie
whole
school.
career, got a whole
Yeah,
career
Yeah.
out of it.
yeah.
And
Dude,
I'll tell you this, Brian, whenever I walked in his office, he's like, actually, we're looking for people to hire right now.
Yeah,
And I was
because they
like,
got a
well,
rookie school open and they're sending them. Yeah,
I,
I
to-
get it.
I told him, I said, I don't have any experience. And he's
They
like,
don't
well, that's
care.
fine. It's better.
Yeah, because they'd
And
rather teach you their way than
yeah.
yeah.
than have to
Dude,
get rid of those bad hats.
firefighting was not even on my spectrum either. Like, dude, I didn't even know. Okay, to be completely honest with you, until a house caught on fire in my neighborhood, I never knew that they existed.
A fire's starting in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right. Me and my brother both, we've always been gung ho about, fire. Anytime you hear lights and sirens, it's like, where are they going?
Mhm.
All right, that was my childhood. Like, I love seeing fire trucks and all that, but I
Yeah.
never thought that I'd be a firefighter. I was like, I can't do that.
It's
But
different to hear your guys' generations, but keep going because I
But,
got
like me and my brother, I'll tell you, he used to have a stick shift F-150, and uh, we were going down the interstate, and we passed by. We're at like, I don't know, somewhere around the 40 exit, and we passed them coming back this way, and we turned around at the 40 and got back on and got stuck in traffic before you get to the 35 for like 40 minutes for a car wreck that was on the side of the interstate. So, that's just us, rubbernecking pretty much. But,
Mhm.
Yeah.
both of us were young. We were like, what's going on?
Like I
Mm,
said, I was it was never it was never in like I didn't until something caught on fire. I didn't know they existed. I
Yeah.
really didn't. Then then I watched like, a couple of 9/11 documentaries and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, those guys are going out,
What
and
year were you guys
put
born?
97.
And you're '04?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's really interesting to hear the different generations in fire service because if you get to my generation and a little bit before, you end up with, 9/11 happened. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, that was just a different time. Recruitment for fire departments didn't matter, volunteered, paid, whatever.
Everybody wanted to join.
Well, yeah, and we had full rosters, and now
Yep.
it's just interesting to hear both of you like, oh, I had no I mean, for me, it wasn't on my, oh, I'm going to be a fireman or
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, my mom was a fire captain for years.
Mhm.
My dad was a paid fireman, and he spent years at the fire department and they were both volunteers there. And then my mom
Yep.
went to being a paid fire captain at the joint. My dad pursued it a little different. He started up his ambulance company and, you know, went that way and then, got into dirt. He decided one day he wanted to stop hauling dirt bags, went to hauling dirt, and he loves that line.
Yeah.
He'll use it all the time. It's done. And there's a whole story behind that. And then, years later I became of age to join the fire department. 9/11 was really, really, I mean, '06 is when I joined and both Walter and I have talked about that. 9/11 was a big thing.
Yeah.
And it was still in '06. I mean, it was still fresh in our mind. We were full tilt in Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. And, it's just different for different generations. And
Mhm.
it's interesting to hear the stories, and you two telling me you just, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't, I just woke up one day. It's like, well, shit,
Well, yeah,
okay.
and then here's the thing too. So, like, I was actually this is gonna sound crazy. I wanted to be a massage therapist before any of that.
You know,
Legit, like legit. That was one of those things. Like, I'm gonna go out and do that.
I'll tell you this.
And
All right,
then
fair enough.
it was really weird.
He
Yeah.
is a good massage therapist, though.
Yeah,
I
hey,
can
And
vouch.
I'm gonna have to take that up, man. One of these days.
well,
Come
anyway,
back.
but yeah, that's what I wanted to be. But then, like, so I was in like a really weird place when it was probably I was 18, like 18, 19 years old. My brother-in-law calls me. He goes, "Hey, we're doing this reserve firefighter program, and you had to do a physical agility test to even try to get into the
Yeah,
program." And so he goes, like, "I'll pick you up in the morning. I think you're gonna love
eat a
it."
good breakfast. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, anyway, so like I said, I didn't realize like what they did and stuff like that. So I go out and I do this physical agility course. Dude, that was hard. But I was like, that's kind of like, you felt cool because you had the firefighter gear on. And then as soon as I started that academy, that's when I fell in love with the job because I was like, dude, you get to go out, you get to rappel off the buildings, you get to do rope rescue, you get to do confined space rescue and
getting
fight
into
fires. I mean, you
you're
get
getting into the real sexy shit there.
yeah, dude.
Not the 2 a.m. lift assist.
Well, that was, that's whatever. They didn't really talk about that in
No,
That's
because, like,
few and far
yeah,
between around here. We
right.
don't do
yeah.
those.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
we fight
Third
fire.
time to this one tonight, boys.
But that's what got me in was my brother-in-law is the one who pushed me into it. And you know
Yeah.
who you are when you watch this episode.
You know,
Uh,
I don't know how my brother got into firefighting.
Yeah.
That's a story for him to tell. But if it wasn't for him calling me that day, I wouldn't be here.
It's the same thing with
I
my
mean,
brother-in-law, but I'm really glad he did because I have never worked a job that I've been so passionate about.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I will say that.
yeah, like
That is the nice thing about this is that if you find the passion for it, it's really hard. I mean, ask those guys down at some of those older guys that are retiring.
Mhm.
Ask them. They still have the passion for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They may not
and
be able to do the tip of the spear stuff, but man, they still are passionate about it.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you this too, like, you talk about, some departments being bored.
You guys aren't bored down there.
No.
No, and like,
Like,
yeah,
you get some departments that are like, "Oh, well, we run, 5, 600 calls a year," and, you get, like there
That's one
we are
district out here.
I'll say this, we're a small department. By no means do we run a lot of fires.
No.
But I will say
Well,
the month of January
one
of this
probably
year,
probably one
we
of the
had 1 structure fire,
per
sometimes
day.
2, every single day.
Yeah.
By February 10th, I think we had 56 or 57 structure fires. We sat down and
Mhm.
counted. There was quite a few.
Yeah.
For it to be a month into the year, we were well over
Oh yeah.
our
We burn here, and
yeah,
it's
and
it
Eh,
was probably one of the more tougher seasons for us. I mean, it
yeah,
was really
yeah,
challenging because I know that there was one fire, and it was on my shift, and it was during a snowstorm, and it was during a snowstorm, rigid temperatures. It was probably like I mean, you're in the single digits. We got called out for it was said that there was a camper on fire. Okay, not really anything to get really excited about. We sent one engine, and we had
two in reserve. Like,
yeah, and we had two other people in like, oh, you were out that fire. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Well, anyways, we get on scene. It's an apartment. They didn't tell us. They didn't tell us a single thing
By
about
the way, this camper spread into the apartment is
Yeah.
like you're shitting me. Okay, fair enough.
And so I was like,
Ro-
what made it even worse too is they didn't tell us that there's people in the other apartment. So, you
Yeah,
go in
I
and
know.
like, pack your shit, get out type deal, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Hey, by the way, this one's occupied. Can you drop me the next tone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, please.
this like my very first shift after rookie school. I'm fresh in the department, so I don't, I'm not talking. I'm listening. I come in that morning and, we're going over some training. They're showing me what they do and, through the
Location
day,
stuff.
everything that's on the truck, going over that. So I'm sitting back listening. I'm not going to say anything to anybody. I'm going to listen and follow instructions.
Shut up and listen.
So I'm in the back of the engine. We get toned out for structure fire. I'm not on the active yet, right?
So you know nothing.
I know nothing. I hear what dispatch says. Our tones go off, fresh in the department. I'm like, all right, run out, get my gear on. I'll be in the truck by the time they're ready. I got to get my gear on. I hear that it's a structure fire. I don't hear the address. That's a driver's issue. All right.
Yeah.
I don't need to know the address.
Hey, and they're
Well-
in the back seat.
So we're on the way there. And my uncle calls me. I'm geared up. We're going down the road. I'm like, all right, I've got time to answer the phone. I can't hear anything in the back seat anyway. So I answer the phone and he's like, hey, are you working today? And I was like, yeah. And he says, all right, well, our neighbor's house is on fire. Okay, because my uncle lives on one side and my neighbor's house is on the other. So he says the neighbor's house is on fire.
Wow.
So I asked, I asked the lieutenant that was in there, I was like, what's the address that we're going to? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay. So what do I tell him? Because dispatch gave us the wrong address. My uncle was sitting in the driveway.
Did
He
you
said,
speak up?
no, yes, I ended up saying something, but I'm sitting in the back seat for like 2 minutes.
Fighting it.
Like,
No.
I'm like,
What do you
okay,
do?
I don't want to say anything to piss anybody off.
Yeah.
But my uncle's in the driveway. He said that there's fire everywhere. It's a mobile home that nobody's living in. I don't know if I should tell him. So I got off the phone with my uncle and I was like, hey, Lieutenant, my uncle just called me and he said that it's a trailer that's nobody's living in, but it's fully involved. And he was like, okay. And I was like, "Oh," and they gave us the wrong address too. So we ended up, he's like, all right. He's like, did he tell you anything else? And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I know which house it is.
I
It's my
now
neighbor's
don't know
house."
what to do.
So anyway, it ended up whoever called it in was on the interstate because the interstate's right.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's literally
okay,
just
yeah.
right there. Yeah.
So the call went to Jeff County's dispatch, and when
Mm.
they gave them the address, they dispatched out Jeff County and
County, yeah.
Chestnut Hill. And then,
That's a run for Chestnut.
yeah,
That's a run for Dandridge.
Yeah. It's
so
in our backyard and it's like right down the line.
Yeah.
like they came, like we got here first,
Oh,
and then literally as soon as we're pulling up, they're right behind us.
Mm.
So County's dispatch called it into our dispatch, and then
Yeah.
that's how we ended up getting dispatched. All of that, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But it ended up like, you know, me not wanting to say anything, and then I did. We got the right address. No, it's
I just
you
know.
can you know on the way in here,
Yeah.
you look over, you can see where the
Oh
single
yeah.
the
Yeah,
trailers
but
are
like,
at.
but you also got a description of where you're going and
What it
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you this too, all right? And this is nothing, okay? You know where Deerfoot is, okay?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So dispatch gets a call, and it's for a medical emergency, and it's actually the same person's house over here. Dispatch put it in as Deerfoot, okay?
They did that to us not that long ago.
Mhm.
So they're like, this address on Deerfoot. Well, instead of Deerfoot, it's actually my road. So, I listened to the dispatch, and then one of the guys that was here was or worked here was at the volunteer department. He got the active for it, and he's like, they didn't say Deerfoot. The active's showing this. And I looked at it and I was like, dude, that's my road. That's my neighbor's house. So ended up, and they waited, and I called dispatch. And I told him, I was like, listen, I know you dispatched it out, but I just wanted to call and verify.
We're going to
You know,
Deerfoot
yeah,
this
is
way.
this their area? Because the address that you put on the active is very well on the other side of the county.
They did that not that long ago with that structure fire that we had, and I don't think it was your guys' shift. I'm trying to remember who I had on.
Oh, I know what you're
They
talking
went
about.
all out
Okay, so
way out there.
yeah,
It
we call
was
they toned it out in Parisville, and it
that
actually was
old Centerview. It
oh
was Centerview and then Cosby,
yeah
and
yeah
that was a bad deal. But the house is still standing, and we did a good job. I don't know how.
yeah by the good gracious of God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, and we were pulling ceiling for a while.
Yeah
You know who it was? I think it was Patrick Shift and whoever else, because
yeah
we were in there and I grabbed a New York hook off the truck and they're like, it's still smoking, and they're pushing it with a fan, and I'm like, give me a minute.
yeah
So I grabbed the tick and I'm like looking around, and I'm like, hey Dustin, come here. And
yeah.
he was like, that.
Yeah.
And I
But
popped through the ceiling, and of course they've hosed everything down. At this point, we're doing like ventilation with a freaking hose and sheetrock. Just I'm like, dude, it's not
yeah.
coming down. So I got the New York hook up there, and it's a vaulted ceiling, so the
Oh,
truss
dude.
is like that
Oh my
thick.
gosh, yeah.
And you're like, no, and you're pulling every bit of that down. You're finally poking holes, and we were able to get it. But
Yeah.
that was crazy that one
It's-
was even standing by the time we got there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But anyways, but yeah, but going back to those memories, like of like why you got started, why you picked this career, and like I said, it
Don't
could
lose
be
sight of it.
yeah, you do. You lose sight of
Don't,
it.
yeah, but don't try your best not to lose sight
Yeah,
of it.
and that could go for any career. And then I guess we'll go into the next little bit of this is like some of the dangers of becoming stagnant as one, your education is going to lack because you don't want to do anything. Okay.
You get lazy.
You get lazy.
And laziness falls into a whole different category.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because like everything that we've covered, if you're lazy, you're not going to want to work out,
Nope.
which that in itself affects your mental health, your physical fitness, your
It-
physical health. You get lazy and you don't want to learn, which if you're an older person that's been here for a while, you're not learning from the new guys coming in.
Yeah.
You're not learning from any of the classes you take, your in
Nope.
service, your shift training,
Yeah,
whatever.
you don't want to do anything, and then and it could stem a whole other type of issues like they're not doing you're not your chores.
Yeah.
If you don't do your chores, your station looks like shit.
Mhm.
And then when the public comes in there, they're like, "What are
What's
we paying?
this?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are we paying these slumlords for?"
It's also
You know?
same thing. You get off a structure fire. I know everybody's tired.
Yes.
Go back, put it back together.
Yeah,
guys.
you get back and you lazily put the hose load on, whatever hose load.
Or don't
You-
fill your truck up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You lazily, that was one time. That was one time.
You'll
One
never
time.
live it down.
But you lazily fill the truck, you
Mhm.
lazily put the truck back
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Okay. Bottles aren't filled. The
Hose
hose
ain't
load
right. Yeah.
looks
Oh, I
a
know.
sight. And that affects the other shifts because, you come off of a structure fire and you don't do a good job putting it back
Mhm.
together. Then they go to pull it out and you got a spaghetti noodle over
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like me coming here today. We've already fought 2 house fires today. We fought
Yep. Well,
we fought 2 fires. We fought a house fire, and then we fought a very unique large fire.
leave it at that. We don't need
But yeah, but it stems a whole different slew of problems. that comes with that. I think another danger when it comes to just being stagnant is losing compassion for people.
Yeah, compassion's a big thing.
And it really, really is. Compassion for people and having empathy for people.
Well, and you have
Um,
to remember why you started this, you know. I
Yep.
mean, you want to help, you inherently want to help your community and things like that. So
Yeah.
you can't lose sight of why you started. Don't get me wrong, it's really easy. How many times you go on that same overdose and you're like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah.
how many
Yeah.
times I got a Narcan you before you just figured
Yeah,
this
what are you
out?
doing? Yeah, and you all like you want to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I don't know what's going on in your head, but you think if something's killing you, that you'd want to stop,
Yeah.
right? And you'd see the effects of a whole bunch of different people as well. Too.
Hey, look at the
Hey,
dirtbag
to the Daily
the
Burner,
Daily Burner.
Mr. Lieutenant Kessler.
Surprise guest.
Surprise guest.
guest.
Yes,
He's just a
exactly.
jackass and shows up late to everything.
Yeah,
Hey.
he was doing some. He was doing.
I'm just
daddy
glad
things.
you got rid of that man bun. You
I
fucking
put it back up.
no, do not. I'll cut your hair off. I already put a bounty on it.
I
put a bounty on it.
You put the bounty on the bun?
Bone knows I put a bounty on it too.
That is.
I
Yeah.
put it out on the Voxer thread, and I was like, "Listen, first one to cut his thing off is getting $50. Like, whack it off.
Hey, so
You can't be on the team."
To be fair, Evan did try to burn it off the other day.
I know,
Yes.
and somebody told me, but to be fair,
His little bliss.
to be fair,
Oh.
you can't be on the team and have a man bun. Like,
Yeah.
just saying, you lose your man card if you do that.
Hey,
You can't
I
be in a
support-
wetsuit with a
I
man
support-
bun. That's
I support the bun. I had one before that. Okay, hey,
Hunter,
I did.
Shut up.
I had one.
Okay,
can't
just-
help
Yeah,
it.
and you
to let
looked
you know.
you looked a little fruity with the man bun.
No, I really did. I mean,
yeah.
like I said, I'm a lot more manly looking now. You know.
just to let you know, we've been doing this for 40 minutes, which means you're late.
You're late.
Okay.
I
tried to
go as fast. Oh, hey, okay. So we got on a whole big
Tangent.
tangent,
Oh.
and as always, but what got you into the fire service? Like just 100%. What?
Get over
Give it-
here. Let
Just,
the camera
just,
see.
Yeah.
just throw it at it. Just the wall.
Yeah, throw it out the wall.
What got me into it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we were talking about events leading up to, like because like what I'll just give you.
You can't
what I
feed
said.
it. You can't feed him as he's got to come out of this.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
He's
just
got to
give us-
come out organically on this
Yes,
one,
yeah.
and not out of the closet.
So what? What got you?
That's why you have that big old mustache to hide the stretch marks.
To say what got me into it was a little bit. I was married to Patrick's sister, so he is already in the fire service, and I was kind of getting exposed to it.
Mm.
But just one day when I decided that I wanted to go to rookie school and start actually getting into it, I was sitting at the intersection in Pigeon Forge, and I saw Pigeon Forge Fire Department going down the road running emergency traffic.
And that was it.
I want to do this.
Yeah, because he was talking about like he had 9/11. It
Yeah, it was-
really inspired him.
It really it's interesting to listen to the different generations, because for me, my generation, a little bit before that and a little bit after that, I'm kind of like right in the middle of it. We had 9/11, and that was a big push. As guys joining the service for the troops and whatnot. I mean, ours was for fire. It was 9/11 was a big thing for us. So
Yep.
it's just curious. These two sit here and tell me, oh, we never thought about it once
I
in
really
our life
didn't. Like,
until
did you
we
ever-
showed up.
Yeah, did you ever like when you were growing up? Did you ever think that the fire department was a thing?
No.
I
Yeah.
didn't either. See,
See-
I didn't either. It never clicked with me. Like,
My question is how are you sitting at an intersection in Pigeon Forge and come to here? Like you and me went to rookie school together. So how are you sitting in Pigeon Forge and like I'm gonna go apply for this county, not the ones that just drove by me. I'm going to this one.
Well, I applied when I was in that transition where I was working in Newport
Mm-hmm.
and also at the same time going through a divorce. Basically,
Deserves one or two of those.
it's when I was,
it's a requirement.
it's, it's when I was
Fuck anymore, I'm telling you.
Uh,
Shit.
I was doing excavation, and well, at the end of every shift, our boss would have a cooler full of beer. So I got about a dozen in, and I was heading home from work. I wasn't driving.
No judge.
Make
Don't
sure-
judge him too.
A buddy of mine was driving me. We rode to work together, and we were passing Cott County, and I saw a bunch of guys sitting outside. I was like, "Hey, I want to go grab an application."
You're all buzzed like,
Yeah.
good navigation.
Yeah, I had a beard down to here.
Yeah,
You gotta shave that.
Yeah.
that's wild. So
I know you the haircut you used to have when we went to rookie school together. Your haircut was like haircut.
Yeah, oh,
He
Pedro.
he
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 looked like
did.
Pedro.
You should have looked like if you look at his. You still have your ID.
Probably somewhere, not on
Yeah.
me, but
All
somewhere.
right, so
You need to look at
but in the slew of things, today's topic was the dangers of becoming stagnant. All right. So what
which you would have.
We just need to
you hadn't
move
been
on.
here.
Okay, we're gonna burn some time up, but I
Yeah.
figure we just move on to the
compassion?
compassion. We're on the compassion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I was talking about like one of the other dangers when it comes to becoming stagnant in your job, and that it literally is. And now this is first responder heavy right here, based,
but all the way around.
but all the way around. But
How do you feel about, or how would you combat or feel about the becoming or losing compassion for people?
I'd say I am guilty of losing compassion because some calls we just get
all the time,
tired of, out
Yep.
on.
Same repetitive,
Yeah.
The
frequent
same smell, same nasty house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
Yeah.
combat that, I'd say I try to remember that they are people too. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're all going to fall short eventually. Like I'm sure in 30 years we'll be picking up being.
Fuck off, that's that.
don't worry.
Did yet? I mean, yeah, I'm popping over
Hey,
here.
it's hard to lose. It's hard to lose capacity when you never had it, anyways. For
Fuck you guys. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now. My kids doing my ashes, and if you motherfuckers bury me in the ground, I will haunt every one of you. So just remember that.
No.
I don't need a procession.
Why is he?
I don't need
the ghost of Ian.
Oh,
is
you're getting a procession.
Yeah, fuck you.
Okay.
Don't
And
even.
this guy right here is gonna lead it.
Straight off a fucking cliff.
Probably.
Fuck.
Or
Why is Ian's ghost like torturing me in the shower?
no, I tell you what.
Dude, I'm telling you, my kids know where I gotta go. My
Yeah.
ashes got to be spread on 2 mountaintops. But you are not burying me in the ground. I cannot stand the thought of rotting in the ground. So
You're
I gotta
gonna
be
spread
burned.
those ash shoots on the mountain tops, and it's gonna catch on fire.
I well, mine.
Like
Shit.
instant forest fire.
That's hilarious. But yeah, no,
I got one more ride, boys.
I think we're all guilty of losing compassion in some
Yeah.
sort of fashion because, like I said, if we go to the same address,
No,
and he actually brought up a good point too. The same
Listen,
OD.
how many times
That-
you been to that?
How many
same
times have
OD?
you been out there?
Like,
You
buddy.
know?
And then they won't. They sign the OR. They just like, nope, I'm not going. It's like, bro, you were circling the drain 5 minutes ago. Can you at least get a ride to the hospital? Like, nope,
Yep.
I'm not going. Okay.
There was this one night. It really got me back into just not really feeling bad, but wanting to take the extra step to get somebody help or whatever. It was cold, really, really cold, and this guy's truck had gone off into a ditch. He didn't have anywhere else to go, and instead of him really trying to reach out and get help, he was trying to live out in his truck until the warmer weather came out. But it was I think it was like -7 degrees.
Yeah.
And the whole reason why he didn't want to go home is because he had been kicked out and didn't have anywhere else to stay. And he was embarrassed. And, that's a lot of men. A lot of men have pride and stuff like that, but he was embarrassed to get help. And so that made me kind of like, oh, you know what? Yeah, this is,
On hard times,
they
yeah.
do, and sometimes, yeah, it's annoying. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. And you have to, track through all this snow or whatever. But that's where, the human factor comes in. You're like, oh, this guy really needs to, he really needs our help to at least have some encouragement.
Yeah.
Or whatever
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, like I say, I don't really know what else to really add to that other than just, just remember that, we all fall on hard times.
Well, and it just comes down to you have to dig down deep
Mm-hmm.
inside and remember, why did you join the fire service, the EMS service, police force, whatever, law enforcement, whatever the case may be. You have to remember why you joined it, and
Yep.
and you have to dig. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's not easy doing this. So that being said, for me, just kind of you have to take a step back and take a breath and remember that the society is not as an entirety bad. You have bad apples. You have bad apples and everything. And unfortunately,
Sometimes the bad outweighs the good.
Sometimes some of them sit next to you, not
Yeah.
saying anything, but being on time's kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
know.
I'm losing compassion. Just gonna let you know.
I don't want to do this podcast, dude.
I don't wanna
He's
do
always
it.
late.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've been late.
For the
Hmm.
lost my train
We
of thought
talked
there.
about
But
Sorry, man.
no, you're good. You just
That's going back to what you're saying.
yeah.
Is remember 100% why Well, actually, just remember what the fire service and EMS service and the police force stands for.
Yeah.
And that is for the better, what do you call it, to protect, serve your community and help people. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're here to help people. Doesn't matter if you've been there 17 times in a shift, it's still your job. And you still have to show and share the same compassion as if you hadn't seen them before.
Yeah.
You know,
And I'll tell you that you wanna talk about that. You were there for the string, that we'd have to go up there, like 20 minutes wait. You know what call I'm talking about,
Yep.
okay?
Oh, yeah.
And it was always the same thing. You're like, man, this address again. As soon as you walk through the
Always.
door, you knock on the door, and you're like, fire department, and you walk in there, and you're like, hey, man,
Once again.
what's going on this time?
I mean, there's one I miss seeing him. Like I said, he had passed away, I guess, last year sometime. But my shift used to go to to the same address it was every shift almost. And each time that you went and seen this guy, like he slowly progressed to get worse and worse and stuff. But the sweetest people though,
Mhm.
like honestly, it reminds you of it's like one of those things that reminds you why you got into the service and like why you enjoy helping people. Because every time we got there, they'd be like, hey, y'all can join us for dinner or something like
Yeah.
that. They'd have candy sitting out there. They'd have like Coke for us and stuff.
Mhm.
And when he ended up passing away, his family bought us an entire meal. Dude, dude, they probably spent hundreds of dollars and we didn't know that he passed away or anything like that. But that was one of the things that they felt like they wanted to do is because, and like we try to do a good job with taking care of him.
Yeah.
You know, we try to treat him like try to treat him like he was family.
I'll say it's one of those things is like, it's kind of heartbreaking. You kind of go out there and like there's ones that you don't want to go on and you still go on,
Mm.
and there's ones that you go on and yeah, you've been there 20 times,
Mm.
but the people are nice. You walk in and they're always like, I'm sorry for calling, but
Yeah.
it's mom and pop that's sitting in there and she physically cannot help or he
Yeah.
can't help, but they're always nice. And then, you find out one of them passed away and you're like, man, I like that guy. But it's one of those things that like, they bring you food. And I mean, small gestures like that, it's like, you don't realize it, but you help that family so much.
That you
And
made a
it,
lasting
yeah,
impact.
and it's one of those things is
Yeah.
like, this is why I do this. Yeah, you got, 15 hard days. You might have a string of like
Just horrible
4 or
shit.
5 shifts that you're
Yeah.
like, man, I don't
We've all had
do
those
this
bad
anymore.
nights. It just won't stop. You're cussing at the radio. You're just
Yeah.
like, stop, fucking stop.
That's your coworkers.
You
Like,
know,
being late and stuff.
Quit breathing so hard.
Yeah.
throwing shit at each other like,
Yeah.
knock your shit off. Fuck me. Stop.
Either that or your first out truck and you've been out all day and you want to come back to the station and go to bed, and the second out truck is sitting over there and
They
They haven't
done
and
anything.
everything that they do is just pissing you off. And you're like, you know what? I hate you right now.
It's like
Yeah,
like your mom and dad
fuck
are fighting again.
Sounds like my captain.
I'm not going into that one. Leave it alone.
Well, the patient's 300 pounds. You boys got it, right?
Yeah.
Y'all are strapping, man.
You know, and that's I
Y'all are
always laugh
strapping
like,
young men.
Got me
who in the
Evan.
fuck? Who estimated this one? There was one for a minute. I'm not shitting you. There was one for a minute on the far end of all of our districts, and I'm talking way on Barrow, and it takes forever for all of us to get there. And we knew when that address come out, it was like shit. Like, hey, and
You
this
can
is
get the next
like,
department for me.
yeah, can you get center en route, and can you get squad en route, and possibly county? And it was like,
I'm pretty sure
It's like,
I know
know
you're
it.
talking about the
Yeah.
50.
he was pushing it, and
Yeah.
And that's like what do you call it? Your four alarm list.
you're like 4 alarm list,
fully
assist,
involved.
boys.
Guys, 1075.
Yeah, I think I feel bad. I feel bad because I think he passed away or something. I mean, I
Yeah.
think they ended up putting him in a assisted living.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he needed to go to the assisted living the
Way
first time
before.
we went out there, and
Yeah.
it was like,
We went out there 7 or 8 times.
yeah, and it was always like, hey, I mean, at this point, the ambulance is still sitting here till we get at least 6 guys here, and I
Yeah.
mean, straining back's getting him out of there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think Justin tore his shoulder doing that one
There
time.
was
and-
one time that we went up there, and I'm pretty sure we had like 4 departments.
Yeah.
Then
We
y'all had
ended up
Center,
then y'all had,
us, you, and then
Messi.
squad.
y'all had a separate rope system too, didn't you?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to that one, or did you just hear
No,
about
I've
it?
just
So
heard about it. Yeah.
it depended on where he went down in the house. That was the problem, or where he was, and it was rough. Like the boys, yeah. And
Do
it's the hallways are narrow, so when you get him and then 6 guys trying to get him out the hallway, like it just
It just doesn't. It
and
never
I'll
works out.
tell you this too, okay? Like, you got some of them, you know, you got the heavy guys, and then you've got some of just kinda old rundown houses, but there's one we went in, and
Oh.
really, really, like, maybe 150, 200 pounds,
Mm.
okay? You know, something a truck can handle, but EMS is there. They're in the house, they've got the stretcher at the door. We're like, "Alright, you know, we can get them into the hallway, pull the stretcher in here." In the kitchen, there was a rug in the kitchen. Well, I was like, you know, "Stretcher's getting hung up on the rug, let's move the rug." Move the rug, and there's a piece of plywood under the rug.
hell yeah.
Alright, like a full sheet of plywood.
Oh, I know. What you, okay,
Well, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Okay, it
alright.
took me a second.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Alright,
Shit.
let's move the plywood out of the way so it doesn't get caught on that." I moved the
There's a hole.
plywood, and there's a hole that
Yeah.
goes straight down into the basement. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good, you know,
Oh yeah.
10, 12-foot drop, and I'm
Let's put
like,
that back.
"Okay." We start pulling them out. I didn't say anything. Alright, put the piece of plywood back. EMS is like, "Can we move that?" Like, "No."
No, not unless you want to go down the floor.
I was like, "To be honest with you, you might not even wanna step on
Don't
that."
stand there.
You have some of those. You have some of those people that you just want to Sparta kick.
Hey, this
Or
rug has a weight limit.
it's not even the ones that you go on. It's the neighbors next door that get mad because you parked your truck halfway in their
Oh,
driveway. Like,
yeah.
"Do you have anywhere to go for, like, 10 minutes?"
Give us
Well,
10.
yeah.
We'll be out of here. Like
Yeah.
I know whatever you've got going on, but just give us
Yeah,
a minute.
exactly. But like I said, yeah, no, like some really good topics,
Yeah.
really good discussion.
Definitely off topic a bit,
Oh, but
but
that's okay. I think
I
we
think
got.
that's what this thing's just be evolving into. Like we start with a topic and then we just kind of roll into some bullshit.
you know, I think it works, though. I think it works.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
These
sums
guys
up
need
the
to tell
job.
you know the viewers need
Exactly.
to tell us what's you know.
Exactly. Hey, if you guys have any suggestions of like what we can do to either make the discussion better or how to stay on topic, just let us know in the comments. What was that?
Did you fart? Did he touch you in the wrong spot? I'll get the I'll get the
I'm
ball
not
and
the
you
one that
point
moaned.
to it.
I'm not the one that moaned. He did.
Oh, you really? I was like, what was that? I couldn't
Oh,
figure it out.
God.
But anyways, like I said, if you guys have any suggestions,
Yeah.
leave it in the comments and stuff. I still really appreciate all the support that I've gotten over the last few months, and I've got some of the best crew that I could ever ask for. To be completely honest with you,
Some of the best crew.
some of the best crew.
Hey,
Some of the ones that are
boys,
on
we
top.
got research
yeah,
coming.
so-
I don't know if you guys listened to the Vox the other day, but let's take a cup of concrete and swallow that. Just toughen the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm talking about some of them baby soft shits.
It's not even research. This is
Well,
advanced.
yeah, this is advanced.
It's
This is gonna
advanced.
kick some people.
Oh, hey, speaking
Not
of which,
off,
Yeah.
dude.
I need to make a phone call, Walter. anyways,
Don't worry.
anyways,
Shut up and just leave it on.
I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone.
I
But
got
anyways,
if you lived in Cocke County, it'd be a whole lot easier.
It
but
would.
it's not that.
It
It's
would.
not that hard.
I know, but we'll figure
Do
it out.
I just need to put out there taking applications? I'm just saying
Uh,
it's in the works.
Okay,
I think you
good.
just need to go to the source.
I'm about to.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Probably not.
It
But
doesn't.
anyways,
Probably not.
It's
Don't
all
take
it's
my
all
advice.
it's all on like there's a little bit of a backdoor kind of like committee behind
The ball
this.
is rolling. The issue
Yes.
is it's being pushed uphill.
It is an uphill, but you have to understand the only like when these two joined the team, it was bullshit because they like rolled in on the coattails of us that had been fucking like tried for months.
They've been
Months, like a year.
Yeah,
that-
you've been grinding.
a year, and everybody's like, no, we're gonna get this spot, and it was like, all right, cool, we got 2 spots, and then we had 2 more, and it was like, okay, cool, and then these two just like meandered through.
Hang
It was
on,
like,
hang on a second.
get fucked.
Hang on a second. I joined in. I'm like a year into fire service right now. Whenever I joined in,
Yeah.
But the thing is like everything was set up for me to go in, and we get to class, and he shows up, and I'm like, dude, when did you join?
Yeah, he's like our bastard child on the team. Like Bailey shows up. I'm like, you're gonna show up, you shitbag?
Every time a call comes out, I'm like, I wonder if he's gonna show. No, his gear's at the station.
Fuck no.
Oh, I love it. That is so. I love that's hilarious. But anyways,
Every time I've responded to a V, I'm always canceled.
Well, that's why you go to the station and you get in a truck.
Because you never fucking show up.
I should whatever.
20 minutes later, what'd you do? Roll out of bed, kiss the dog, and beat the wife and cuddle with her? Like shit.
honestly, good episode.
Hey,
Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions what you want to do, or what you want to see on the YouTube channel, or even want to hear on Spotify, this is the Daily Burner, and we'll catch you guys
on the next one.
week. That's okay.
He'll clip it.
Oh, hey, we also got to do I forgot to do the.
Oh.